The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998. Live from the 540 ESPN studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, this is the Pro Wrestling Report with David Hero, Frank Cosentino, Linda Kay, and your host, Damian Nelson.
Lights, camera, action.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. We are broadcasting here live from Karma Bar and Grill, 600 East Ogden, downtown Milwaukee. A beautiful place, and some great food had by all. Damian Nelson along here with David Octavius the Tiberius, the alleged one-time backyard diva hardcore Hall of Famer hero. And Linda Kay. Linda Kay just ran away. You scared her. Oh, Zack Ryder lost.
Well, she's getting a drink.
Oh, tremendous. Well, we are here live, as I said, from Karma. Several great fans joining us here as well tonight. We'll talk to a few of them later on. But WWE RAW just going off the air a moment ago, and we have been reviewing your comments all night long via Twitter, Facebook, and everywhere else. Linda's got those comments tonight. But two things very important happening on our Facebook page, Linda, first of which is tonight's theme of themes.
Tonight, the Pro Wrestling Report is going old school.
Old school?
Oh, yeah.
How old school?
As old
like
as
from
you
when
can
David
go.
Hero was a kid? Old school themes.
Yes.
So you can submit those on our Facebook page.
1980s.
80s and 90s and such. The 90s is oldies now, you know.
Is it?
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's what people keep telling me. And also, Versus returns tonight. We look at a star of yesterday versus a star of today. And this week, those two combatants are King Kong Bundy and The Big Show. You can go to our Facebook page right now and vote for who you think would win that matchup.
Do you realize it's King Kong Bundy's birthday today?
Of course
right.
I do. That's why he's in
He is
Versus.
50 years old.
Which is why we're taking not today's King Kong Bundy, but the King Kong Bundy who put Hulk Hogan in ace bandages
in
in WrestleMania. Absolutely.
Right? 85?
Yes, absolutely. So that is Versus for tonight, and you can go ahead and go to our Facebook page, like I said, and let us know who you think would win in that fantasy battle. But first, let's talk about WWE RAW as it just went off the air. And in the main event, it was John Cena teaming up with you know it, Zack Ryder, to take on The Miz and R-Truth. And tonight, The Miz and R-Truth got the best of John Cena and Zack Ryder. I'm sure you're just loving every minute of this, David.
Not at all, because I think they did it backwards.
Backwards?
Backwards.
Like back to the future?
I don't think they should have had John Cena and Zack Ryder against The Miz and R-Truth this week. Maybe next week. This week, Miz and R-Truth should have beaten some other tag team strong.
Well, last week, it was John Cena dominating over The Miz and R-Truth.
Right.
So it makes some sense that maybe The Miz and R-Truth
make it believable that The Miz and Ron Killings have a legitimate chance of beating John Cena and The Rock.
And they didn't do that tonight?
No, because they cheated to win tonight.
Well, win if you can, lose if you must, always
I
cheat,
understand
and
that,
they didn't
but
get
you're,
caught.
You're going to the main event of SummerSlam, which is one of the big
Survivor
four
Series.
pay-per-views. Survivor Series.
I usually do that.
I just think that they could have done it with some other tag team tonight.
Wait, so would
Name
you?
one.
Well, there aren't any other tag teams, but you know what? They could have done it with, like, Sheamus and John Morrison.
Uh-huh.
You know, or some other twosome. I just think they should have waited. Or, you know, they could have done John Morrison and Zack Ryder. I think they should have kept John Cena apart from those two guys until Survivor Series.
Linda was happy Zack Ryder was on TV.
A lot of the fans were, and there's a tweet right here from Aaron BSC saying a lot of hashtag we want Ryder chants tonight. I think he's hashtag over. How about that, David Hero?
He can be over all he wants, but what has he done yet?
Wow. God, you're hating.
No,
He got the-
no.
The main event at Raw
What
tonight.
did he do? Was he the difference maker tonight?
No.
No.
But he was in a main event matchup, and that's what some fans want.
Do you think that John Cena tried way too hard to get him over tonight?
When he put the glasses on, yeah.
Yeah. And then he has Ryder come in and do the 5-knuckle shuffle with him. The wrestling move, Damian. It just seemed like they're forcing to get the crowd behind them.
So nothing good came of this as it
Absolutely
pertains to
something
Zack
good.
Ryder,
Well, no.
in
You know
your
what?
opinion.
No, he got a good push. He got acknowledged. The announce team was putting him over.
So what does he have to do? If the question is, what has he done? What does he have to do?
He needs to beat Dolph Ziggler and become the United States champion.
He did mention the petition that he has online, trying to get that matchup with Dolph Ziggler. One would
And here's the
assume it's
funny
going to happen
thing
at
is
the
they
Survivor
make
Series.
fun of him as being the internet wrestling champion of the world, and then they let him do the online petition and give that, you know. Listen, Zack Ryder is going to be one of the next big stars. By Royal Rumble, he should be in a great position.
Wow.
But they're not giving him that opportunity right now to do that.
All right.
Why didn't he get the babyface shine tonight in that match?
Well, because it was expected that it would be John Cena getting it.
But if you really want him to to do well, let him get that. Let him be the one that gets pinned, that gets screwed.
We are taking your phone calls tonight. The number is 1-800-990-ESPN, or all over the southeastern Wisconsin area, 414-276-ESPN. That's 414-276-3776. We're also going to be talking to some of the people here joining us at Karma on 600 East Ogden here in downtown Milwaukee. As we continue talking about WWE RAW that went off the air tonight, we're also going to talk about Impact from last Thursday, SmackDown, a big announcement from TNA tonight, information on Sweet and Sexy, and in addition to Versus, which we talked about a moment ago, it's a Superstar Spotlight. This week, David Hero, we're going to look at not your star of the week last week, Beaker, but Drew McIntyre. Remember him?
Yeah.
We'll talk about Drew McIntyre later on right here on this very program. But continuing talking about Raw, another highlight tonight was the return of Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash speaks and says, reference Triple H, that when he walked in the door, and I quote, "I should have buried you then." And Kevin Nash saying he still got it, and on any night he can be world champion. A lot of feedback on the Twitter stream about Kevin Nash and the look that Kevin Nash had, and many saying he looked great tonight. But did he do what he needed to do in that promo tonight, David Hero, speaking about Triple H and explaining his actions, which was Triple H's reluctance to bring him back to a quote-unquote, anything but a quote-unquote, has-been Legends contract after the Royal Rumble.
That Legends contract was a $500,000 a year gig, so I don't consider that to be a has-been deal. But you know what? He told a good story. He laid the groundwork. You know, they're going to keep Triple H off TV until at least TLC. I don't know. I mean, they probably could have saved him until Boston. I don't think.
Oh, they needed something tonight.
Well, but unless Nash is working the house shows overseas, I don't see why they would even bring him out over there.
Speaking of the house shows overseas, big news on a big return to WWE that happened at a house show, a couple of house shows over in the UK where Raw emanated from tonight. Raw was taped earlier today. Did you read any of the spoilers, or were you allowing yourself to be pleasantly surprised?
I was spoil-free tonight.
Really?
Absolutely.
That's rare for you. Normally you're dropping spoilers all over the place.
I just didn't want to know.
You also took a road trip this past weekend out to Michigan. Spent some
Yes.
time with your little friends in TNA Wrestling.
The DWH World Tour.
DWHS World Tour?
DWHS World Tour.
Can't wait to hear about some of that stuff later on. Another big thing tonight, CM Punk confronting Alberto Del Rio. And Alberto Del Rio says to CM Punk that he is the best in the world, and ultimately it would be Alberto Del Rio getting the best of CM Punk tonight.
Yeah, because Alberto Del Rio is the best in the world at what he does. He's the ultimate antagonist.
Really?
He is our WWE World Heavyweight Champion. CM Punk's not the champ right now, is he?
No, he's not a champ right now, but he did say he was going to give some meaning back to the WWE Championship after their match at the Survivor Series coming up in 2 weeks.
But what has Del Rio done to
Nothing.
discredit
That's exactly
the title?
right. Just like you say about Zack Ryder, what has Alberto Del Rio done? He's done nothing. Who has he ever beat?
He's beaten John Cena. He's beaten CM
So
Punk.
is The Miz.
He's beaten
So
Big
is The
Show.
Miz. So is The Miz.
He beat The Rock.
So is The Miz.
The Rock.
Alberto Del Rio did not beat The Rock.
Well, see, you were just on automatic pilot right there. You weren't even paying attention to what was being said. ADR, you know what? The reason why ADR hasn't done much is because he's been completely derailed. All the momentum he had, they took it away from him.
Derailed just like The Miz was derailed after his domination at WrestleMania over John Cena?
Well, that was his own fault.
Oh, of course, yeah. How was it his own fault,
It's all
David?
backstage politics.
Again, we're taking your phone calls, 414-276-ESPN, 414-276-3776, or all over the world at 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-3776. Kelly tonight had a little something to show us. She's going to be on the cover of Maxim magazine, and we had a little bit of an unveil, a reveal, if you will, tonight, which was interrupted by Beth Phoenix and Natalya.
And Beth Phoenix right now is the most believable diva in wrestling.
She's the anti-diva, I thought. The new anti-diva.
She does it all. She has a great look. She can talk. She can beat people up. And right now there is nobody better than Beth Phoenix.
Nobody?
Nobody.
Alicia Fox was out there tonight. Remember her?
Yes. And you know what? She is absolutely tremendous, but I don't think even she can beat Beth Phoenix.
Ken and Skipper referenced by Beth and Natalya tonight. Mm-hmm. And then, as I said, Eve and Alicia Fox coming out and making the save. And then one of them, I think it was Foxy, saying to Beth Phoenix that they were going to be on the cover of National Geographic.
Right. How rude is that?
I don't understand. What's so wrong with that? National Geographic is a world-renowned magazine.
Is it?
Yeah.
Even over in England?
World-renowned. That
International.
Includes England.
Okay.
We are also taking your tweets on Twitter. I was surprised at how long that Diva segment went tonight. They spent a little bit of time on it, but I couldn't help but think back to the days of the real reveals.
You know why they
Remember
spent so
when
much time
Sunny
on
used
it?
to do her reveals, and
Yes.
there was pyro and a big 80 feet by 50 feet sign hanging from the ceiling? And remember when, Ric Flair had those pictures of Elizabeth that he was going to show us going into WrestleMania 8? The pictures we never saw, by the way.
Right.
But that was the big thing about the secret pictures he was going to reveal going into Indianapolis's WrestleMania 8, and it never happened. But something was just missing. And one point you made, David Hero, could be what was missing is that's the same Kelly we see every week.
Every week. There's nothing different about that picture. You know, and the reason why they gave it so much time is they want people to know that she's going to be on the cover of Maxim. So
Remember when it used to be a different magazine?
Stuff.
No, not quite.
Oh, okay.
China was on Howard Stern this morning. Now that you bring that up, she got a new movie coming out.
Really?
Oh,
Ring
yeah?
Queen.
Not Backdoor to China?
That's already out.
That is already
Yes,
out.
this is a sequel to that particular film.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I didn't see the first
she's
one.
part
so
of the
I can't
job
see.
squad now, huh? Didn't he pay me?
I'm not sure if the pinning is involved. But
Oh,
Jack
there's some
Swagger gets a pinfall victory over Santino Morello. What we see when WWE goes across the pond, as they did tonight, is so much wrestling. And we saw a lot more of it tonight.
They have to.
Why is that?
Because I don't know if our sense of humor transcends very well over there.
Really?
Yeah.
And is it because they like Zack Ryder so much, so now they're Bizarro?
I am not calling our good friends across the pond Bizarro. But that can be you. But I just think sometimes for them to get a promo across the right way, it has to transcend well to the audience. I don't know if that would work.
Speaking of the audience, I think it's time to give someone the opportunity to set you straight on a couple things here.
Okay.
Let's go out to Michigan on the phone lines, and let's talk to David. David, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report, live from Karma in Milwaukee.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Tremendous.
David, I had fun in your state over the weekend, amigo. Cadillac is
Yes,
quite the
I
little
know.
town.
Actually, I was there. I was there in Grand Rapids. I was Battle Creek.
Oh, there you go. See, good times, right?
Yeah, it was actually a really good. People don't go to TNA Live. They should check it out because there's some awesome wrestling there.
Was that your first TNA house show?
That was my second one, actually.
Second one, okay. Very good. So what do you have for us tonight, David?
The highlight of Raw, I think, was Kevin Nash. Just seeing him on TV again, coming out to the old NWO music was kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Kevin Nash haters out there, David.
I'm a Kevin Nash fan, but
a lot of people saying Kevin Nash is old school, too old school, and is getting in the way of some of the younger talent that's out there.
Who has he got in the way of? Who
Who else
is going to wrestle with Triple H right now?
This is what the people are saying out there, some
It's
people.
because they don't get it. He is not. If you think about it, Triple H and Kevin Nash are in the way of nobody right now except themselves. Right?
Kevin Nash said some very important things, I think, tonight, David, out in Michigan. What was the most important thing you took away from his time on Raw this evening?
I think when he brought up the whole Killer, when he seen him with Killer Kowalski, shadowing Killer Kowalski, he should have buried him then. Like, that's just taking you back to how far, telling the story about how far they go back into wrestling. When Shawn said, he's cool, he's funny, let him in the clique. It just tells you there's always been dissension between them for kind of puts it in there.
You know what's funny is the reason why they brought Triple H into the clique was they needed someone to drive.
I thought that's what Aldo Montoya was for.
Well, but that was later when they brought in PJ Palico. But really, Triple H was brought in because he was the best driver of the four.
Well, you need somebody to handle all tasks and functions.
And he did.
David, out in Michigan, as you mentioned, being at that show in Battle Creek this past weekend, Friday night. Highlight of the night from TNA Wrestling at that live event.
Oh, RVD's entrance, that thing was unbelievable.
Really?
And then Anderson with that kid Logan, that was awesome.
Logan was over like $1 million.
I know.
Logan?
Logan was this little kid they brought in from the
It
audience.
was great.
And Anderson said, "Okay, you can announce me as the winner." And Ken goes,
Yeah, he's
"And the
like,
winner of this match." And Logan goes, "Logan," instead of Ken Anderson. and the whole crowd, all 500 people, went nuts for it.
Tremendous. Mm-hmm. Well, David, out in Michigan, thank you very much for that call and being a part of the program tonight. We're going to take a lot more of your phone calls and talk a lot more about WWE. Well, you kissed his tail before he got to talking. Oh, I had so much fun in your great state of Michigan.
I had a blast.
You ever thought of running for office?
No, never.
We're going to be taking more of your phone calls and talking a lot more about WWE Raw and everything else going on in wrestling. Unfortunately, some sad news breaking right now as CNN has just confirmed. It looks like we've lost a boxing legend, David Hero. Smokin' Joe Frazier has passed away after a battle with cancer. That news coming out just a few moments ago. So, of course, our condolences go out to his family and friends and everyone who, of course, watched those great boxing matches of the day. So we're going to take a time out, and when we come back, more of your phone calls, more discussion about professional wrestling here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're broadcasting live from Karma Bar and Grill down on 600 East Ogden. Damian Nelson along with David Hero and the lovely social media diva Linda Kay. Well, Jake the Snake Roberts action. Tonight's theme of themes is old school, and who gave us that little gem?
That would be Omar Zapata.
Fantastic.
Jake the
And
Snake.
Isn't that the name of Pinocchio? Omar Zapata?
I've never seen a Pinocchio film.
No?
I don't know.
Sounds like it.
You can submit your ideas for themes on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. We're also looking for your feedback on tonight's Versus. It's King Kong Bundy in his prime versus the current version of The Big Show. Who would win in that fantasy battle? We'll talk about that later on in this program.
Do you think Big Show is in his prime right now?
Do I think he is in his prime right now? Mentally, yes. Physically, no.
So then should we have Big Show in his prime against King Kong Bundy in his prime?
That would overcomplicate things.
Okay.
WWE Raw tonight. Speaking of prime, John Morrison maybe getting back into his. He got a win tonight.
Yeah.
Didn't I say they're going to
Over
rebuild
Dolph
John
Ziggler.
Morrison? And that's
For
what
one
they're-
win is a rebuild?
Absolutely. It's how you start. You can't win more than one match at a time.
I think it's going to take – his burial's been – I mean, he's more than 6 feet under. It's going to take longer than 1 week, 1 match, 1 month, several matches to bring him back to the level that he was at. But the
His
fans,
girlfriend's gone, so that helps.
the fans still certainly behind John Morrison. And tonight getting a win over the United States champion in a great matchup definitely will do him well. He also had a great match with Drew McIntyre on Superstars last week.
Do you know what this could possibly mean? This might be good for Zack Ryder.
Woo-woo.
Because if they're now taking Zack Ryder out of the program with Dolph Ziggler and now putting John Morrison in there, maybe they're going to give Zack Ryder a bigger push. Who would have thought that they could replace Zack Ryder with John Morrison.
Who would have thought we'd see JTG in a singles matchup on Raw?
I must have missed that.
JTG.
When was that?
It was versus your friend Mason Ryan. Mason Ryan getting the win, of course.
I missed that entire match.
Apparently.
I really did.
How do you miss Mason Ryan?
You want to know the funny thing about Mason Ryan?
What's the funny thing about Mason
is,
Ryan?
Obviously this past weekend I was over in Michigan, and I was there with X-Pac. You can
Across
follow,
our very own little
yes,
pond.
which you can't drive across. The ferry's not working anymore, but you can follow X-Pac on Twitter at @TheRealXPac. And we were talking about different developmental guys. I'm like, because he spent every Thursday he goes down to FCW, and he works with the talent. And I says, hey, I go, who do you think is going to be one of their biggest and brightest stars that you're down there with? And guess who he said?
Who?
Mason Ryan.
So now you're going to be a friend?
No, and I just thought it was funny. I'm like, really? He's like,
Was he feeling well?
He was great. Yeah. And I says, why would you say Mason Ryan? He's like, well, 6 months ago the kid didn't get anything. He just had a body and a look. He's like, but he's come quite a long ways in the last 6 months. And
now with this win over JTG, big things should definitely be ahead for him.
But it's like, wow, who would have thought that people would say that about Mason Ryan?
Michael Cole re-ups his challenge to good old JR Jim Ross. Jim Ross saying he will be in Boston next week for the big 3-hour Raw when Raw gets rocked, when The Rock returns to WWE RAW.
That's why they had JTG on tonight, because they're going to need him to fill 3 hours next week. They had to reintroduce him to the fans. Think about it. They took JTG all the way across the ocean.
The pond.
Yes, to have him do the job.
Well,
like there was nobody else back there they could have used. Isn't that amazing?
No, because Zack Ryder was getting the win.
So you're saying they should have jobbed out Zack Ryder?
I'm saying you were going to suggest, actually,
no, I
wrote
wasn't.
down on this paper here that it should have been Zack
But no,
Ryder.
just think about that. They flew JTG across the pond to do a 30-second job on Monday Night Raw.
It was longer than that. They had it.
Well, I said I didn't see the match,
Right,
but I'm
so
guessing.
now you're sitting here judging it.
Look at how long was it? 45 seconds?
Let's go back to the phones.
A minute?
Let's talk to, let's stay in Michigan since David Hero now apparently is in love with that state. Let's go to Eric, who's waiting on hold. Eric, you're live.
Well, David Hero is about to hate Michigan.
I love it. Bring it on.
I don't hate. I just disagree.
I'm on your side. It's crazy for me to think about. So, X-Pac's whole thing with Mason Ryan, if you listen to PW Report, he actually talked about the fact that because Mason Ryan's a good guy, and he shakes hands with the right people, if you know what I mean. He climbs that mountain with a little help.
Mason Ryan does, you're saying?
Yes, yes. This was something said by Sean last Friday.
Uh-huh.
And, he says Mason Ryan's a really good guy, but that's beyond the point. And on top of that, David, your superhero card is revoked at this point in time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, he has authority for that, doesn't he?
Apparently.
Okay.
You know, whenever anyone says he's a good guy, what's the next word? But. He's a good guy, but. He's a good kid, but. She's a good girl, but.
What thing? But,
so you're not a fan of Mason Ryan?
It's hard to be. Even in his SCW matches, it was hard to be. And he did a match with Dolph, and even Dolph did not make him look any less green. Mason Ryan's name is AstroTurf.
Wow.
All right. And I'm a hater. Listen to this guy.
I think you're just unhappy you didn't say it first. I mean, calling him AstroTurf is better than some of the things I've heard people call him.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to rip on the guy so I can be tagged with more Twitter comments with them, right?
Mm-hmm. Eric out of Michigan, thank you very much for calling in and being part of the program tonight. Let's continue on the phones, and let's go out to California. JR, you're live.
Doing tonight?
Tremendous.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk one more. You guys were talking about earlier with all the people hating on Kevin Nash. And I just don't get it because if Triple H isn't working with Kevin Nash, then he's going to be working with one of these young guys, and he's going to be going over on these young guys, and it's going to be back to Triple H burying the young talent. So I think it's perfect that he's working with Nash. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I agree 110%. Kevin Nash and Triple H aren't hurting anybody right now because there's nobody else on that roster that should be in their spot anyway. So, if anything,
nobody.
No.
Not a CM Punk, not a Miz,
He's
not a Drew McIntyre, not a Sheamus, not a Mark Henry.
Okay, first of all, Punk and Sheamus are already elevated.
Not
Drew McIntyre's not ready to be in a spot with Nash or Triple H. What has he done? Who has he beat? Nothing.
Exactly.
So let these young guys watch two old pros go in the ring that have both drawn a ton of money, have great experience, are good on the mic, and can work a pretty good old-school match. Let them learn from them.
Is it a case of no matter what they do, there will be a pocket of people who say it's the wrong thing to do? Because some would argue that Nash's role should be to come in and actually put over some of those younger guys.
You name one person in this company that could legitimately beat Kevin Nash in a fight.
But that's not why people watch wrestling.
Yeah, but make it believable.
Wrestling, make it believable?
Yes, exactly.
JR out in California, thank you very much for that call. And, it's always great to join us live when we are broadcasting live, as we are here tonight from Karma Bar and Grill down on 600 East Ogden. Linda's floating around like a butterfly, but she's not stinging like a bee. We've got some guests with us, and we're going to talk about WWE RAW. I want to know your thoughts. What's your name?
Kenny.
Kenny is joining us here live at Karma. Thank you for coming down and being part of tonight's festivities. Kenny, overall, your thoughts on Raw. What was the one thing that you walked away with tonight and the one thing you'd rather you didn't see?
The best thing that I saw tonight was CM Punk and Alberto Del Rio, and that's because the story was told. If you listen to CM Punk closely, he said, well, okay, you beat me by cashing in the Money in the Bank. Fair enough. You had a lead pipe, with Cena and us in the triple threat match. What CM Punk did was he really solidified the story tonight, I really think, and really built that rivalry between him and Alberto Del Rio by going back that far.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
It was a reset almost.
Exactly, and I cannot wait to see this match because both of them are very tenacious, and they're both very methodical. And to see them two get in the ring and see what they do to each other is going to be absolutely amazing. I can't wait.
Who should be champion, Alberto Del Rio or CM Punk?
Punk, hands down.
Low light. What was the one thing that just made you cringe tonight on WWE Raw, if anything?
It's tough. There were so many cringeable things.
And you can't say The Miz. No. You can't say Dolph Ziggler because they're endorsed.
No, they're good.
That's good if there was nothing.
I think the Divas segment going so long.
Yeah,
is probably the. I mean, we all kind of knew what would happen when Natalya and Beth stormed the ring,
right?
And
same old soup, different bowl.
Exactly. I mean, what happened to the Divas? I mean, what happened to your Lita?
I got released.
Yeah, they let all the good ones go.
Exactly, released. Absolutely ridiculous.
Going back to Punk, you say he should be the champ.
Of course we're going back to Punk.
Well, forget the Divas right now, okay?
All right.
That's irrelevant. Okay. What makes CM Punk so popular and so strong is when he has somebody to chase, okay? When he was chasing after John Cena in the championship is when he really got over. Now that he's chasing Del Rio, the fans, they love him even more. Let's say he beats Del Rio at Survivor Series. Then what does he do?
Then he does exactly what he said he was going to do tonight. Bring some honor back to that championship.
Okay,
and make
love
it.
Okay, that's fine.
And there are rumors, strong ones, that the plan is to have CM Punk go into WrestleMania with that WWE Championship.
Okay, but who does he have a program with going forward then? Now you got to find a heel that can keep the fans interested in CM Punk into WrestleMania.
He's still got unfinished business with both Kevin Nash. Well, sort of Kevin Nash.
So you think the naysayers are going to appreciate a CM Punk versus Kevin Nash feud?
Not exactly, but he does have some verbal feud going with, if I'm not mistaken, the actual best in the world, Chris Jericho.
Oh, well now.
Now, there's been many, many reports that Jericho is, I'm not coming back to WWE. I'm not coming back to WWE.
Which tells you he is coming back.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But, the main motto of the WWE is never say never. And I think with this best in the world thing and all that, I think this is prime for Jericho to return and have a program with CM Punk.
Kenny, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for coming on down to Karma tonight and being a part of the broadcast. And David Hero, the PWR Live Tour continues on November 20th. It's a big, big night. The Rock returns to the ring at the sold-out WWE Survivor Series on Sunday, November 20th. And there's only one way to watch it live here in Milwaukee. You can join the PWR crew and former WWE Diva and Playboy centerfold Maria Kanellis at the Horny Goat Hideaway for a free live viewing of the Survivor Series on the largest TV in the Midwest.
Here? Jeez, come on.
Sorry,
censorship again.
You switched locations. All are welcome to join PWR and Maria Kanellis. Watch the Survivor Series for free. And you can like us on Facebook right now to get all the details about that. Maria Kanellis, first time making an appearance of this sort in the Milwaukee area. Won't cost you a dime to come on down and say hi to that very, very sweet
hot potato.
We're taking your phone calls. Remember the number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. And as we talk about Raw, David, what was the one thing for you that you walked away with tonight that is worth discussing? And that cringeworthy moment, if it did happen.
Well, I'll have to agree the whole Divas thing wasn't doing it for me.
Really?
Yeah. Just because they haven't done anything truly with Kelly in quite some time. So, she's been getting beaten down every week, it seems like. But
slapped up, flipped up, and rubbed down?
Yeah. Oh, no. But, you know what? I thought it was interesting how Cena went out of his way with Zack Ryder tonight.
How did he go? How did he go out of his way?
Just how he put him over in the,
they were having fun.
How he put him over in the pre-show introduction.
So Cena shouldn't put anybody over?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying how it almost seemed forced. Okay.
If you go back for weeks, if not months, who's been the advocate for Zack Ryder on WWE television?
But he should be. Because that's who the fans like. And if he's the true babyface, he has to, como se dice, endorse, right? Mike Vick's going to be the death of me tonight. We got to turn this off. I'm serious.
Multitasking, not a strong suit.
But for me, I thought that was the most interesting thing, was how John Cena went out of his way with Zack Ryder. And you know what? It's great for Zack Ryder, to get the blessing of the biggest star in the company. But sometimes the fans will turn against that.
Should we ask Linda?
No, she's biased. Look at this. She turns her own mic on because she wants to talk about it.
No, we've discussed before, Dave, about, I say it's the fans want Ryder. They want to see more Zack Ryder, and then you're like, but they're not doing enough in the E to put him over. But I think we're slowly seeing that climb for Zack Ryder. He's going to get that match against Ziggler.
You just don't want to be wrong.
I'll be mistaken. I won't be wrong. But, I think that Zack Ryder, he needs to beat Dolph Ziggler. And I said that, at the start of the show. Absolutely he has to. If he doesn't, then he's just going to go backwards.
Let's go back to the phones, and let's talk to Glenn from down in Orlando, Florida. Glenn, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Good evening.
Good evening, Glenn.
Let's talk about Madison Square Garden.
MSG, NYC.
And let's talk about Vince McMahon.
Yes.
Let's talk about him.
He said he doesn't want to have WrestleMania in small venues.
Uh-huh.
What's the positive and what's the negative of not having WrestleMania 30 in Madison Square Garden because of the 10th anniversary? And would you like to see it go somewhere else, or would you like to see them go back to Madison Square Garden every 10 years?
It does make some sense, and history would dictate as 1, 10, and 20 were at Madison Square Garden. But as many of you have heard, $6.3 million is the magic number. That's how much money WWE made in the last 24 hours on WrestleMania just from ticket sales. Their business results from last quarter, about $2.2 million in incremental revenue, additional revenue from WrestleMania last year. WrestleMania is an institution, and with the way they're treating it now, with cities bidding, and literally cities are bidding for the event to host it, there's got to be certain qualifications met, and they've got to make that money and put it in the bank. Now, you can make $6.5 million, I guess, without in Madison Square Garden, but you're extremely limited in the number of people you can put in that place, and then the number of tickets you could sell. I think, was it for WrestleMania 10 or 20 where they actually had the closed captioning in the Paramount or in the theater next door, the Madison Square Garden Theater as
20.
well? Yeah, and you could buy tickets for that. I think the grandness and the grandeur of WrestleMania is much better captured on in a larger stage. And it was said, if you watch a true story of WrestleMania DVD, that Vince McMahon has said that WrestleMania will never be in a smaller venue again. Now, never's a long time, and we're talking about professional wrestling. But there's a reason they went from New York to Los Angeles to Chicago, or whichever order it was, when they did those last 3 arena shows for WrestleMania. They knew that they were going to be going outdoors and going to these cities that are basically, in some way, shape, or form, paying them to bring WrestleMania to the city. So it's a great business model for WWE. And I think the Survivor Series and the SummerSlams and the Royal Rumbles are next. And we're already seeing it with SummerSlam, which is in Los Angeles again next year, which I think makes it its 3rd year. And having Survivor Series in Madison Square Garden is going to make it that much bigger of an event as well. And I still say, David Hero, it's going to be the downfall of your boy Alberto Del Rio in Madison Square Garden. Those fans are going to be cheering CM Punk to a degree that we maybe have not heard since Money in the Bank in Chicago.
And that will make it even that much greater for ADR to win. Because then the fans will be that much more upset, and they will hate ADR that much more, and they will cheer that much more.
Glenn from Orlando, I'm actually going to be down in Orlando. I leave on this Saturday. Going to be going down for TNA's Turning Point pay-per-view. We're going to talk about that pay-per-view later on. And it should be a fun time. Actually, it's always a fun time in Orlando, Florida. But thank you very much for that call, Glenn from Orlando. And one thing about Madison Square Garden is I think if you look back to when The Rock first debuted in that building, got booed out of the building. Shawn Michaels versus Sid Vicious back in '96, I think it was. Maybe it was the same event. When, was it Sid or Shawn? One of them, Shawn, I think, got booed out of the building. Shawn got booed,
yeah.
The New York crowd, the Chicago crowd, very, very Canadian crowds even, very, very different. And I think that at times WWE has planned perfectly to utilize those reactions to do what needs to be done. This could be the case come this Sunday with Alberto Del Rio and CM Punk, next Sunday, rather.
I think the smart move is to let ADR beat CM Punk and then let Punk go over in a gimmick match at TLC.
Will it matter that that Alberto Del Rio can't drive a car into Madison Square Garden?
Not at all.
Okay.
Because he still has Ricky Ricardo to introduce him.
I think his name is Roberto Rodriguez.
Or is it? No, it's Ricardo Rodriguez.
Yes.
Oh, well, same. It's close.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report. We're live from Karma Bar and Grill here on 600 East Ogden in Milwaukee. Having a blast here tonight talking about WWE RAW and taking your phone calls. The number 276 ESPN 276-3776 or all over the world 1-800-990 ESPN 1-800-990-3776. We're also on Twitter at PWR Show on Twitter and on Facebook. And tonight on Facebook we want to know 2 things. What's your favorite theme to submit to us that's old school from the 80s or 90s? And who would win in that versus fantasy matchup between King Kong Bundy
and the Big Show.
That should be fun. We'll talk about all that and a heck of a lot more when we come back. This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're broadcasting live from Karma Bar and Grill, 600 East Ogden here in downtown Milwaukee. Come on down every Monday night and watch WWE RAW with us, win some fun prizes, and also see the live broadcast of the Pro Wrestling Report. Matter of fact, next week, David Hero, big Survivor Series. We're going to take the week off, actually, and be back.
We're off next Monday?
Absolutely. Going to be back on the following Monday.
And why is that? Because who's going to be on vacation? Mr.
Because the
Worldwide
Packers are
Jet
playing
Setter?
on Monday Night Football, and there's a conflict with schedule.
So it's Aaron Rodgers' fault?
Yes.
Gotcha.
We'll yield to him. That's fine.
You know, just so you know, you can sleep well tonight knowing that I did win tonight in my fantasy football league. Mike Vick did not beat me.
What would give you any indication that I care at all about your fantasy football score?
Because you were sitting next to me.
Can we go back to the theme of the week here? All right, that was Dude Love. Dude love. Thank you, Michael Manikoff, for choosing that theme. Old school themes tonight here.
You talk about being in Milwaukee. It was Milwaukee where that match happened at Over the Edge 98. It was Dude Love versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I believe Vince McMahon was a special guest referee. Talk about shenanigans. There may not have been a more shenanigan-filled match aside from the match between, was it Jeff Jarrett and Razor Ramon at Royal Rumble 96 when there were about 12 run-ins? But in this matchup at Over the Edge at the Mecca, remember it was
absolutely. There's a
Patterson
Jack
and Briscoe.
production.
Yeah. Patterson and Briscoe at ringside. They kept changing the rules, and then Vince McMahon took a vile chair shot to the head, and just and the crowd.
Undertaker.
That's what's missing right now. Some people said that the crowd tonight was really into the action and what was happening on Raw, but really not since Money in the Bank. And I can't even think back to when before that has there been just a hot crowd for the duration of a show. And if you go back to many shows that occurred in that 98, 99, 2000, early 2000 era, the people just cared so much more. Now, it seems that most of the people that are watching these shows and going to these shows, it's a chore for them. They're not at all invested. They almost don't want to be there.
Well, you know why? Because they've been told that Raw's going to be a super show from now on. So of course, I'm sure they're waiting. They're waiting to see Wade Barrett and Randy Orton and Sheamus
and Cody Rhodes,
and they were nowhere to be found.
And it's good though because we did find out that at Survivor Series it's going to be Team Orton versus Team Barrett, and thank God that Cody Rhodes is on Team Barrett's team because they would have no chance if he weren't.
No chance.
No chance in hell. Well, Cody's going to carry the team to victory.
Cody's the handicap of the team.
The handicap that
He's
delivered
the
a 30-minute
wheels.
classic against Randy Orton last Friday on SmackDown that the world is buzzing about.
And who won?
Randy Orton, but it didn't matter. Cody still got 3 wins over him. 3 pinfall victories, 3 weeks in a row.
Okay.
They tend to keep forgetting about that. So regardless of any of that, though, it was a fantastic match on SmackDown. And some other things we saw on SmackDown definitely we're talking about.
But how?
WrestleMania is shaping up.
How did that help Cody Rhodes?
It helped Cody Rhodes because people are talking about how great he performed in that matchup against Randy Orton. That's how it helped Cody Rhodes.
Who do you talk to?
It doesn't matter if you win or lose.
It doesn't matter if you win or lose. But if you're trying to build up a young star, they need to get over somehow.
He's not a young star. He needs to be built up. He is the Intercontinental Champion.
And defended the title last when?
What does that matter? Tag team champions, 1 half suspended.
Yeah, but
for 30 days.
At least he was out tonight. Kofi.
So Cody's tag team partner should have been out?
He doesn't have one.
Right, because he's the Intercontinental Champion, who had a great matchup with Randy Orton.
I'm just saying, when you're trying to build somebody, how does that help him by not beating Randy Orton?
Because you can be in a great match. And I'm not saying these matches were on par with each other, but and some are saying match of the year, by the way, but did that big matchup at WrestleMania 3 between Randy Savage and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat damage either one of them? No, because it was a great match.
Thank God you prefaced that by saying I'm not comparing.
A loser in a great match is still a winner.
You are saying 2 Hall of Famers in Savage and Steamboat in the same
Cody's
breath
a future
as
Hall
Cody
of Famer.
Rhodes.
It's a future world champion, future Hall of Famer. We're going to take a timeout and come back with more
I want to know
TNA,
who you talked to.
Including this Sunday's Turning Point pay-per-view.
You said people are saying. I want to know
Pro
who those
Wrestling
people
Report,
are.
Live on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. It's so nice we played it twice. This is the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Oh, wait. No. This is Mick Foley's theme.
No, this is Dude Love.
Are you sure?
This is one of the faces of Foley.
Well, that's why it was played twice, because it's been used so often.
It was suggested by a lot of people on our Facebook page, and tonight's theme of themes being submitted by our listeners on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. It's old school. Damian Nelson along with David Hero and Linda Kay. We're live at Karma Bar and Grill on 600 East Ogden in downtown Milwaukee, where fans joined us to watch WWE RAW and Monday Night Football, which just ended. How'd you do in your fantasy team, David Hero? I don't care.
Fantastic. You are so rude.
Before we took that time out, we were talking about WWE SmackDown and the Match of the Year candidate, which was Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. It was a little bit of matchup, a battle to open up SmackDown last week, and about 30 minutes of action. David Hero, you, of course, are hating on Cody Rhodes, but Linda, I think we were trying to get some feedback from the audience here live on that matchup and what some people thought of it, because, David, you tend to disagree that it was a great match. You are challenging whether or not people actually thought it was good. Now we're joined here by one of our listeners who has come down to join us. What's your name, sir?
Joe.
Joe, welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report here live at Karma. That matchup last Friday night at SmackDown, a lot of people like you talking about how good or bad it was. What was your thoughts on that match between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton to open up SmackDown last Friday night?
You know, I really didn't expect it from SmackDown to open up the night with a street fight, especially lasting that long. But I gotta say, it was perfectly executed. Well, maybe not perfectly, but excellently executed. Gave Cody a great chance to shine.
But he lost. That's David Hero's question.
Well,
how could he shine if he loses?
Well, yes, but I'm taking your side on this one, Damian.
I don't play sides.
He plays favorites.
Yes, exactly.
I play endorsed.
Cody is he is a future legend, and it's.
Are you serious?
I think so. You know, I mean, you know, I don't think he's going to quite measure up to his father, perhaps. He's not going to experience the level of stardom of Randy versus Cowboy Bob in the legacy aspect. But when we divided the legacy and put Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes separate, a lot of people said, me included, that Ted was going to be the star of the two of them. And Cody, he's done nothing but shine since he took on his own. I mean, he did his dashing gimmick, and I absolutely love that. And now he's doing this Phantom of the Opera-esque mask thing. And
they built him slowly. It was a slow burn.
They had to.
It was a simmer.
They had to. Because it wasn't. Come on.
And he's showing now to be the better of the two. I mean, Ted DiBiase has done virtually nothing. I mean, he's starting to get his Twitter followers, his DiBiase posse.
We're trying to get into this DiBiase posse. Have we heard back from Ted yet?
Yes.
Want to have a little posse of our own?
Elimination
posse
chamber
party.
It's gonna be nice and chilly.
There you go again.
What? It's going to be outside in February in Milwaukee.
Oh, keep on going, yeah. Well, why don't we make the formal announcement? We've not done that yet.
We haven't?
The WWE is bringing Elimination Chamber live on pay-per-view here to Milwaukee.
You just gave it away.
Exciting. You did it just a moment ago.
Well, I thought
it was all nice here on the run sheet. Nice, formal, big, major announcement. WWE brings pay-per-view.
That's not the run sheet that I got.
Where's Elimination Chamber?
That part was handwritten. The one I got was all typed out.
Cody Rhodes, a star or not a star in your book?
Rising. Definitely.
Rising star? I'll take that. He is the Intercontinental Champion, bringing prestige back to that championship, much like CM Punk wants to bring prestige back to the WWE Championship after the placeholder is done with it, Alberto Del Rio. Thank you so much for joining us and joining us down here at Karma, being part of the broadcast. David Hero also on SmackDown, and I thought this was very, very intriguing last Friday night. We saw a matchup between Daniel Bryan and Mark Henry.
DVD.
And we saw discussion on that WrestleMania Money in the Bank cash-in. It looks as if we are being led to believe that Mark Henry will retain that championship all the way through WrestleMania in Miami and will defend it against Daniel Bryan, who has already announced that he will cash in his Money in the Bank matchup at WrestleMania. And on the WWE WrestleMania website, it already indicates that Daniel Bryan will be facing the World Heavyweight Champion. This could be a moment of brilliance for WWE for two reasons. Mark Henry is trying to convince the world that he's going to be champion for the next 15 years. Mm-hmm. He is that confident. He knows he can do it. What better way than start talking about his matchup at WrestleMania, ignoring everything in between because he's that confident that he can go that far? And how great would it be for Daniel Bryan, who has been sort of almost, it seems now, deliberately in the shadows, to step out of those shadows into a World Heavyweight Championship matchup and perhaps even become the World Heavyweight Champion in a David versus Goliath scenario at WrestleMania in Miami.
It could be very interesting. Can you imagine having your two world champions, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, after WrestleMania?
Two Ring of Honor guys.
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
That's fascinating.
That would be very interesting.
Going into Mania. And last year, it was Edge and The Miz.
Right.
Huh. That would be very interesting. But is that the way it's going to play out?
Oh, That's way too soon to figure that out.
Well,
so
the
much stuff
WWE
can happen from now until then.
WWE is definitely in full-on WrestleMania mode right now. Mm-hmm. And again, we saw it was discussed directly on SmackDown. And the reason that they had the match, basically Mark Henry saying, oh, you want to wrestle me, down to Bryan saying, well, let's do it now. They have the match up in it. Within that discussion was more talk on the WrestleMania contest. I really think they're going to lead us to believe that it's going to be Mark Henry and Bryan Danielson.
But they need to keep the two guys separated.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
can they do that for 5 months?
Sure. There's a lot of guys on SmackDown that can feed to Mark Henry. That's fine. You know what? Go ahead. I would love to see Mark Henry and Cody Rhodes. And you initiated this entire conversation.
I initiated it as part of my reporting duties.
How about Ted DiBiase and Tyson Kidd finally getting a match on SmackDown?
It was a good match.
And the announcers don't even acknowledge it.
Not a word.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, they're busy.
Talking about how many Twitter followers they have.
How many do you have?
Me?
Again, we're taking your phone calls at number 276-ESPN, 276-ESPN, or all over the world. All over the world at 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-ESPN. We've got a caller waiting on line one. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hello, Damien. Hello, David.
Hello there.
Everything's going tremendous. I'm a new caller to you guys. David, I want to go and ask you, okay, there's a lot of times I hear the show here on podcast, and I agree with quite a bit of what you say. My only thing is, with some of the older wrestlers that you support and you want them to stay on top, where some of these other wrestlers are not going to get their spot at the main event, I think it's because of the way you book your own main events. Like, you don't have that promotional power or that platform that WWE has. So when you do one of your own shows, you want the older guys to draw in the fans and draw in money. But that's not the way WWE has to be.
So you're telling me right now on the Raw and or SmackDown roster, there are two guys that can go and fill the match that Triple H versus Kevin Nash would take. And that will mean as much and will sell as many tickets and will help sell pay-per-view buys.
But why do you think just the fact that Triple H and Kevin Nash have to be wrestling, why can't they just be a focal point in a match, in some kind of a management role or some kind of a role where they come in as a guest referee? Why do they have to be wrestling anymore?
Well, the fact of the matter is, and to the point of the question David just asked, the fact of the matter is it takes at least 6 months for those guys to even be evaluated properly in those main event roles. Because when you really break it down, over the course of the last 12 months, the only people that we've seen who might be able to do it on their own would be CM Punk, maybe Sheamus, and definitely The Miz.
That's the point.
And other than that, there's nobody there. But at the same time, they haven't given any of those people enough time to sink in and be soaked up by the audience to fully evaluate properly if they can be those guys.
It's because the Fed has done an improper job of booking the talent and an improper job of writing for those guys. They haven't given them the right platform, okay? CM Punk, when he gets himself open in the public, right prior to Money in the Bank, okay? Look at what you could do with that. Look at what the attitude they had open, pretty much no scripts. They weren't stuck to such a format as they were now. I mean, there's things that change. You have the PG-13 or the PG rating now. All that's going to change. So you're putting limitations. You have all these things that are hampering the new talent. Guys that have been around for 6, 7, 8 years. Your Ziggler's, Punks. The point is, at what point do you go ahead and just, why do you keep burying these guys? Put these guys where they get put over. You want to put Triple H, Kevin Nash, David Hero? Don't put them in a 5-minute match. That's all they can do. Put Triple H in a separate match, Kevin Nash in a separate match, and let them both in the card, not in their own match. That's not going to draw any distance.
But listen, who do you put in the ring with Kevin Nash?
CM Punk. If you want him in the world title and this WWE title match, why not put him against CM Punk? There's still a storyline there.
Well, and they haven't gotten that far into it yet. Okay, so now who do you put in the ring with Triple H?
you haven't built a feud to it. The point
No. You tell me of all these guys that haven't been given a fair chance, who do you put in there with Triple H?
The options are many.
No, there isn't.
The options.
How many guys can go toe-to-toe with Triple H right now?
The way you're asking, that's a different question than the one you just asked. The question isn't who can they. The question is who can be believable in a matchup against Triple H.
And CM Punk versus Kevin Nash is not believable.
Why not?
CM Punk, no, the Triple H doesn't need to be in a match. He doesn't need to be in a match right now.
The reason Triple H has been kept off of TV since WrestleMania is because.
Keep him off for Taker at WrestleMania 28, okay? Put him for Taker and let Hunter retire, okay? Let him be on TV, but he doesn't need to wrestle anymore. That's all.
No, I'm not saying he needs to wrestle, but if you're going to keep him off TV until Taker, and you have Taker off TV until Mania, then you bring you're bringing two guys back right before Mania that haven't been on TV in a year. And then people are going to complain, how come these guys are coming back? What have they done in the last year?
And in reference to The Undertaker, one thing is clear, and thank you very much for that call. One thing is clear is that it's going to be Cody Rhodes ending the streak at WrestleMania next year.
Jesus Christmas. What have you been drinking here?
Water.
Yeah, with what?
Jameson.
That's not
and you
so
know,
far out of the realm of possibility.
And I didn't get a chance to answer this question. When people say, like, regarding the Blizzard Brawl shows, that I book the older stars or the legends, well, the fact of the matter is Vince McMahon's not going to let me book his talent on my show.
Because he tried to get Cody Rhodes.
So I have to use who's available, and I use the ones that are the most, that are going to benefit the show, that are going to sell the tickets, that are going to pack the place. So that's why I use certain people.
Oddly, the same thing World Wrestling Entertainment does.
Exactly.
Now, on the other end of things, you've got TNA Impact Wrestling, which has a new world champion in Bobby Roode as of last
TNA
Thursday's
Impact World Wrestling Heavyweight Champion.
I forgot. I didn't know you had to say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That happened last Thursday night on Impact. We're going to talk a lot about what
I got a lot to
last
talk
Thursday
about
night
TNA,
on
too,
Impact.
after being there Friday night in Battle Creek.
We've also got still to come here on the program versus King Kong Bundy versus The Big Show and Superstar Spotlight on Drew McIntyre. This is the Pro Wrestling Report. We're live on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
I'm not sure it gets any better than the Honky Tonk Man, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Tonight's theme of themes is old school. And that's the Honky Tonk. I could really listen to this all night long. The Honky Tonk Man. He's cool. He's cocky. And he's bad.
This isn't Dude Love?
No, we've heard that twice already.
Oh. It's similar, isn't it?
The greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
He is. Honest to God. Now here's a guy that Cody Rhodes couldn't model himself after.
How so?
He was hated as a babyface, and became a heel and became a superstar. Had legendary feuds with Jake Roberts, the Macho Man, Hulk Hogan. That's it.
You know, you talk about bygone eras, and does the Honky Tonk Man really define a bygone era in professional wrestling?
Yeah, a gimmick wrestler. They don't have them anymore.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report. We're live on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, coming to you from Karma Bar and Grill in the PWR Lounge here at Karma. Damian Nelson, David Hero, and the lovely Linda Kay.
Thank you, David Mansfield, for choosing Honky Tonk Man. You too can give us your theme suggestions at Facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report.
And also, I believe the poll is there for tonight's Versus, P-O-L-L, for tonight's Versus. It is The Big Show versus King Kong Bundy. You said he's celebrating his 42nd birthday today, King Kong Bundy?
42. Can you believe that?
He's the big 5-0.
Yes.
Five.
Absolutely. God bless King Kong Bundy.
Legend.
Should be in the Hall of Fame today as we speak.
We were talking about Robert Roode being the new TNA World Champion. That happened last Thursday night on Impact. It was a matchup between he and his former tag team partner, James Storm. A great match, if not an excellent match, but one that happened very quickly after the Bound for Glory James Storm title change a couple of weeks ago. Did it happen too quickly? And was this a story that maybe was missed in the world of TNA, with this being somewhat hot-shotted?
I don't know if it was really missed. I think that they could have waited until this upcoming pay-per-view to have that match between James Storm and Bobby Roode.
You mean the pay-per-view this upcoming Sunday?
Yeah, Turning Point. Oh, my gosh. We're going to be the booker this week, don't we?
We do. And it will be Bobby Roode will be defending it against an opponent named this Thursday night on Impact, which has been taken.
I almost gave it away, didn't I?
You may have. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't.
Good.
But I was gonna talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean, Gene.
But this opponent that Bobby Roode's going to have may not make it because this opponent may have a tweaked ankle.
And this opponent may have tweaked that ankle this Friday at a house show in Battle Creek, Michigan. And David Hero, you were at that house show in Battle Creek, Michigan. And, one thing TNA does very well
is not advertise talent. I'm sitting there in Battle Creek, Michigan, in the back, talking with some of the superstars.
Including Crimson.
No, he wasn't there. But, including one of the named talent that might be wrestling this Sunday on a pay-per-view that might be for the...
AJ Styles, just say it.
Okay, AJ Styles. And all of a sudden, Ric Flair walks by.
Woo!
I'm thinking, what the hell is Ric Flair doing in Battle Creek,
Was he wearing
Michigan?
more than his robe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm thinking, what the hell is Ric Flair doing in Battle Creek, Michigan? They're like, oh, he's on the Michigan Loop. I'm like,
wait a minute. Ric Flair was part of the house show for TNA Wrestling in Michigan this past week.
For 4 of them.
4 house shows.
For Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And do you think anywhere Ric Flair was mentioned on any advertising that Ric Flair was going to be in any one of these house shows?
Ric Flair.
Yeah, the Nature Boy.
And
one of the funniest thing...
Let's back up. I just want to make sure this is clear. You're certain, 100% certain, on the poster, on the card, on the advertising materials on TNA's website before it got hacked this weekend, didn't say Ric Flair would be there.
Not at all.
That's a waste of money.
All it said was Jeff Jarrett, Jeff Hardy, Ken Anderson, and James Storm. Well, Jeff Jarrett was not there. Jeff Hardy was. Yeah, but Ric Flair unadvertised. How terrible is that?
That's pretty fascinating. It's a waste of money. I say that because clearly Ric Flair's getting paid to be there.
Well, Ric Flair got paid more than what they took in as far as ticket sales.
Stop it. Come on now. You don't know that for a fact.
I know how much Ric Flair gets paid. I know how many people were in Battle Creek, Michigan. The show was very entertaining. I mean, with the exception of the fact that I thought for sure that the new TNA Impact World Wrestling Heavyweight Champion was going to be on the house show because he's a guy that does house shows.
He wasn't on the house show?
He was in Australia doing promotional work.
Down under?
How do you
was
do
he
that?
At work?
Yes, but think about that. For the past year, you've had Sting and Kurt Angle,
Jeff Hardy,
as well. But let's just say Sting and Kurt Angle have been the last 2 TNA champions.
Over 200 days. Of
guys
the
that
300.
have not done house shows. They finally get a champ that can do house shows, and he's not even on the first set of house shows. The night, he finally wins the championship.
What I was going to say, I'm not sure I got a chance to finish, was that TNA is known for putting on great house show events, and a lot of the feedback we got, including one of our first callers tonight, said how fun and great the event was because of the interactive nature of those events. So barring all this stuff that you've said, which is true, by the way, I'm not sure why you'd have Ric Flair on a show that you didn't advertise, but WWE had a returning Mick Foley on an unadvertised house show last week across the pond.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? I'm not comparing Ric Flair to Mick Foley, but they both have value and could sell tickets. They have since started to advertise Mick Foley on those shows.
Mick Foley was overseas for his comedy tour, and it just worked out that
maybe Ric Flair was in Battle Creek meeting up with somebody.
No, he was not. Because you should have seen how grumpy Ric Flair was to be in Battle Creek, Michigan. He was not pleased to be there.
They're in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Yes.
All right. TNA Turning Point is this Sunday on pay-per-view. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be live in Orlando in the Impact Zone for that pay-per-view. And matches announced so far include Rob Van Dam versus Christopher Daniels, Crimson versus Matt Morgan, Velvet Sky versus Gail Kim, and Jeff Jarrett versus Jeff Hardy, which I think is happening pretty quickly. We've seen since Jeff Hardy came back, Jeff Jarrett has been not so pleased with the fact that he's back. But I think they can get a few more weeks out of that and maybe go to what won't be a pay-per-view that's just basically in the way.
You know, what they should have done with Jeff Hardy is they should have had him start at the bottom of the list and work his way back up.
Rung by rung by
exactly.
rung.
And then have him have the match with Jeff Jarrett. Build it up for 2 or 3 months. You know, maybe he starts off with Jesse Sorensen, and then he goes to Gunner, and then he works his way to Scott Steiner, and then he hits Abyss, and then eventually, you know, Bully Ray, and then finally he gets Jeff Jarrett. That would make it far more compelling. But, you know, you sit there and you bury the guy week after week after week of what he did at a pay-per-view, but yet you bring him back and put him in a top spot. How is he paying for any of that?
Maybe the same way Garrett Bischoff is. We talked about this on Primetime this past Saturday night on My 24 Milwaukee. I want to thank everybody for watching Primetime last Saturday night, as a matter of fact. Some very, very strong numbers for the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime. And, again, that's on every Saturday night on My 24 Milwaukee. And those of you outside the southeastern Wisconsin area can catch it on our website, pwrshow.com. But we want to thank the thousands of you who are tuning in each and every week on My 24 Milwaukee. We appreciate that and those efforts. But David Hero, Garrett Bischoff, something we talked about last week. And now we find out that next week, in another edition of Impact, he's going to be in a matchup against an opponent of Eric Bischoff's choosing. Is this the end, or is this the beginning of Garrett Bischoff as a wrestler?
Unfortunately, it's just the beginning. He's going to be their next big thing.
He's going to be their what?
Next big thing. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard for TNA fans, not only for the TNA fans, but actually the TNA talent, because they're frustrated as well, too. They're like, how is this guy coming in? And now people complain about Kevin Nash and Triple H taking somebody's spot. Imagine being in TNA and having your spot taken by Garrett Bischoff.
I will still, even though I've taken some heat for it, I will still make the same comparison that I've done to the McMahon family. People cared about that. So if I'm TNA...
But no one likes Eric Bischoff.
I think there are people that...
You know, when I saw Garrett Bischoff jump on his dad and put the boots to him and punch him in the face, I was thinking...
you were watching Springer?
No, I'm thinking, what could have gotten him so upset where he want to beat up his dad? And then I realized, well, he probably Googled Gold Club in Atlanta and saw all the shenanigans that he pulled with his mom.
Maybe Garrett Bischoff can go to Ohio Valley Wrestling. Big announcement from TNA today. We'll talk about that and more when we come back here on the Pro Wrestling Report, live from Karma Bar and Grill on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're live from Karma Bar and Grill. You know, home with the Pro Wrestling Report on Monday nights. Come on down, have some great food and some great times and some great drinks and great service here as well. And that, I had that pulled pork sandwich again tonight with coleslaw on it and tater tots.
You like salad on your meat, don't you?
I like coleslaw on my pulled pork
It's
sandwich.
vinegar-based, you know that, right?
It was delicious.
It was fantastic.
Thank you, Alex Perez, for choosing Macho Man.
Alex Perez from NBC5 in Chicago.
Do you know what? That reminds me. The Macho Man's theme song.
Oh, yeah.
The DWHS World Tour continues this weekend.
I thought that bus broke down.
No way. I got an RV now. Friday night, we'll be in Des Moines, Iowa, with Al Snow, Road Dogg and Billy.
Oh, you didn't
Scotty
know?
Tuhati, Robbie E. We're going to information for the show in Des Moines. Go to glcwiowa.com.
I understand the show is titled Seasons Beatings?
Seasons Beatings, yes. And then Saturday, I'm going to be in Villa Park, Illinois.
For POWW?
For POW Wrestling, POWWEntertainment.com for their annual Wrestle Rage. And they will be inducting the Macho Man Randy Savage into the Hall of Fame that they have there, which is my Hall of Fame that I'm in.
I still think
I will be in the same Hall of Fame as the Macho Man. And accepting on behalf of the Macho Man will be none other than his brother, the genius, Lanny the Leaping Poffo. And, of course, like I said, go to powwwentertainment.com for information on that show.
All that a precursor for Blizzard Brawl, which is December 3rd here in Milwaukee. I've heard some rumors that Chris Masters is he's scared.
Well, he's concerned because he knows if you get hurt, you could sue him. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So, he wants to
Again, if I haven't made that point yet this show, I will completely destroy Chris Masters. He may never wrestle again when I'm done with him at Blizzard Brawl.
Well, he may not want to.
I've been training. I mean, feel that.
I'm not touching you. But Blizzard Brawl 7, can you believe it or not? It's going to be 7 this year. BlizzardBrawl.com, Al Snow, Chavo Guerrero, Sonny, Paul Bear, Demolition, Carlito. The list is growing. And that will be Saturday, December 3rd.
Several new faces not seen at Blizzard Brawl before, and some amazing ticket packages being released tomorrow for Blizzard Brawl, which include transportation to and from downtown
Finally,
Milwaukee.
some people have complained there's no way to get to Waukesha from Milwaukee if you don't have a car. Well, we made some phone calls and adjustments, and check out the BlizzardBrawl.com website tomorrow for all that tremendous information.
And in case you can't get online on November 20th when we're at the Horny Goat Hideaway, tickets will be available for Blizzard Brawl, including some of those package deals that we talked about. Speaking of tickets being available, Sweet and Sexy David Hero, it always pays to follow us on Twitter and or Facebook because those people found out that more seats were released earlier this week for Sweet and Sexy in Miami. By the way, I want to make one thing very, very clear.
This is the first day of the week.
This is only one of a few suites that are actually available for WrestleMania 28. And I want to thank Sun Life Stadium for working with us and doing tremendous by us. And there are only 4 seats remaining. Only 4 seats remaining for the Sweet and Sexy Miami ticket package.
Wait.
For WrestleMania 28.
You, Linda, Frank, and myself. Those better not be our 4 seats.
You saw where it said tickets start at $25?
Yes.
Well,
enjoy
your view.
That's my seat?
It's going to be a heck of a weekend in Miami, Florida. And you can go to pwrshow.com, click right on top there. You see Sweet and Sexy. As I said, only 4 seats left. And believe me when I say this, when those 4 seats are gone, they are gone, and Sweet and Sexy is then officially sold out. I want to remind you, Courtyard by Marriott is our hotel partner in downtown Miami. We've got a special rate, and you can book that as well by clicking on that link, Sweet and Sexy at pwrshow.com. Get in where you fit in. We have a block of rooms available, and you can participate in Sweet and Sexy 2012 in Miami for WrestleMania. We hinted or talked about it earlier, David Hero, but Mick Foley makes his return to WWE at some house shows in Europe and wasn't really mentioned by WWE, aside from the fact that over there they are advertising that he would be part of the shows that he was part of after that first night. Will we see Mick Foley next Monday night from Boston, and will we see some interaction between Mick and Rock? The Rock and Sock, if you will.
Absolutely. How can you not? It's the Rock and Sock connection.
WWE had advertising out there that indicated that would be the case. However, they have pulled back on that advertising and are no longer saying that Mick Foley will be part of it. Mick Foley saying he didn't know he was being advertised, but wouldn't be surprised if he would be there, and that he has not yet been formally asked to be there.
He will be there. There's no way Mick Foley is going to miss the opportunity to get back in the ring with The Rock.
Talk about nostalgia, talk about a pop. That would be tremendous next Monday night on WWE RAW. Before we took our last time out, David Hero, we were talking about TNA's big announcement today, which is that they have partnered with a developmental territory. The developmental territory is one that is very familiar to a lot of you and very familiar to a participant in this weekend's event from GLCW out in Iowa, Al Snow, who ran the developmental phase at Ohio Valley Wrestling for a number of years. Now TNA partnering with Ohio Valley Wrestling to send existing stars and develop new stars to that organization to better themselves. And let's not forget that OVW is the place that brought us the likes of Cody Rhodes, the likes of John Cena, the likes of Batista, the likes of Randy Orton,
Ken Anderson,
the likes of, yes, so many people. Basically, if you're anybody who was anyone in WWE between 2001 and let's say 2009-ish, you came up through Ohio Valley Wrestling.
And you know what? I think that OVW is exactly what TNA Wrestling needs. Somewhere where the guys like, let's say, Jesse Neal and Jesse Sorensen and some of the other X Division guys. Exactly. Send them to OVW. Let them work and train and perfect their craft where they can actually wrestle 4 or 5 times a week in
front of a live audience.
Exactly. And you know, it will definitely put them in the right direction, and it's what they need to do.
One other thing that many are saying they need to do was addressed by both the Spike TV president and TNA Wrestling president Dixie Carter, which is taking Impact on the road. Now, I got to give them credit for Macon, Georgia, the show or the location where the show was taped last week and where it will be broadcast from this week. It was great on TV. It was a small enough venue where it looked good. It felt big. It felt special. It gave more steam, if you will, or sizzle, if you will, to everything that was happening. And they're going to do it again this week. But talking about whether or not TNA Impact will continue on the road, they made it, or both made it seem as if it's really up to the fans to decide because it's got to be financially viable. As you well know, David Hero, it costs a lot to take a show on the road. And it costs a lot to produce and have all these people fly into a Macon, Georgia, because you probably have to fly into Atlanta or somewhere else and drive 5 hours, but whatever that might be. That's a lot of work that they got to put into it, and if that return is not there, if that payoff is not there, if you are not buying tickets to go to these shows, then why would they bring it on the road? And I can't for the life of me, notwithstanding what you said earlier, understand why TNA has such a problem drawing for these televised events, Bound for Glory being one prime example where they may have only sold about 3,000 tickets with Hulk Hogan versus Sting on the top of the card.
Because that's all they know is Hulk Hogan versus Sting.
But isn't that all they need? That was the point you made for weeks leading up to Bound for Glory.
Exactly, and that's how they got 3,000 people in the building.
Yeah. But
as opposed to the 500 to the 700 that they normally sell. Let me tell you something.
Like I said
earlier this week,
Marshal.
I was with X-Pac over the weekend.
XPAC?
XPAC. And every place we stopped, whether it be a restaurant or a grocery store or the hotel or wherever we were at least one person recognized him. Okay?
Okay.
He hasn't really been on TV in at least 6 or 7 years.
True. He was at the Hall of Fame last year.
Okay. But was he really on TV then? No. Okay. With the exception of the little run he had on TNA, I can't include that either.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the same time, I was out with some of the guys from TNA Friday night after the show, and they were recognized simply because they were wearing TNA wrestling gear. So it's a big difference. The wrestling fans today, either they're not watching TNA or they just don't know who TNA has as far as on their roster. There's no connection. You walk into Toys R Us, you walk into Target, Kmart, Walmart, whatever, you will see pegs upon pegs of WWE action figures. When was the last time you saw pegs upon pegs of TNA wrestling action figures? You don't see it.
Yeah.
You walk into Walmart, you will see at least 5 or 6 different Rey Mysterio or John Cena T-shirts and pajamas and underoos and socks and tennis shoes and everything.
Animals?
You don't see any TNA clothes.
It's a point that many talents have made, including Kevin Nash on this very program several times, is, hey, when are you going to be on TV again? Hey, bro, I'm on TNA every week. Thursday nights on Spike TV.
And you know what? It's great that TNA offers, if you go to their website, it says up to 80% off some of their merchandise. What does that tell the audience?
That they are getting a great deal.
I
don't think they read that far into it.
It means don't buy the stuff until you see it up to 80% off.
I understand this new hot Ken Anderson shirt coming out.
I saw the picture of it. Let me say it is tremendous. And I already ordered 7, so I can wear one every day of the week.
My sentiments exactly in that shirt for some people. But we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we'll have the results of Versus. We'll talk about that fantasy matchup. Also, our Superstar Spotlight this week is on Drew McIntyre.
Who?
Drew.
All that and a whole lot more when we come back.
We're going to waste time on Drew McIntyre.
Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
The sports Milwaukee cares about all day long on 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. Damian Nelson, David Hero, and Linda Kay here live from Karma Bar and Grill. I want to thank Karma for all the hospitality and everybody who showed up to join us here tonight in the PWR Lounge at Karma for the Pro Wrestling Report live here on 540 ESPN. I want to remind you, we will not be on next Monday night due to the Packers football. On Monday Night Football, we'll be back right after the Survivor Series with the post show and then live on Monday.
And to make
21st.
that clear, that means there's no blog talk show.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Just so everyone's on the same page.
I'll be on OBT next Monday night anyways.
OBT?
Orange Blossom
Yeah,
Trail.
you know me.
I like to. It's called,
There's shenanigans on the OBT, isn't there?
it's a cross section of America. I mean, you go
Cross-dresser section of America. Oh, tell me it's not.
You see everything from one end of OBT to the other.
Yes.
Start on Sand Lake-ish and go downtown, and you don't need to see anything else really for the rest of the year. But anyways, I love Orlando, Florida. It's a great town. Going to be at TNA's Turning Point this Sunday.
That's the one spot in Orlando that the Disney buses do not travel.
Drew McIntyre is this week's Superstar Spotlight, and I think it's interesting to talk about Drew because of his fall from grace, really. Introduced into WWE as the Chosen One. He had a meteoric rise, but the focus was pulled back, and he's really been in obscurity ever since that incident on the road. He has the look and the talent to be a big star, but the question is, will Drew McIntyre ever be given another chance, especially considering some of the great matchups he's had as of late when given that chance? And having a Drew McIntyre signing on actual WWE television is pretty few and far between.
Here's my theory on that.
What's your theory on that?
They brought Sable back, and she sued the company.
Right.
So I'm willing to bet that they'll give Drew McIntyre a few more chances. I mean, the guy,
What's it gonna take?
he's still very young. You know what? They got to get the stink off him of the whole him getting beat up by his wife. I mean, who can believe he can be a legitimate superstar when his wife beats him up?
What was he supposed to do, hit her back?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying they let that pass. Let it go away.
Drew McIntyre.
You know, you sit there with that look on your face like, really? That's why. You give me another reason that will make sense.
You're hammer right on nail's head. Yes. It's unfortunate, though, that that's what's keeping him back.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Just saying. Versus The Big Show versus King Kong Bundy, KKB. David Hero, that fantasy matchup. For the purposes of you discussing this, King Kong Bundy in his prime, Big Show in his prime when he was able to drop kick. That match, two men of similar size, two men of similar style, two men who won't ever wrestle in a matchup. But if they were, how would it have gone?
Well, Big Show in his prime could only really lose to one other guy in his prime, and that would be Andre the Giant. So, unfortunately, I can't believe you're making me pick the Big Show on King Kong Bundy's birthday. But the Big Show, I think, would defeat Bundy. But it would be one heck of a big. It would be very similar to a Big Show versus Mark Henry match. Oh. It's just I don't think Bundy has the.
Mark Henry's more like Bundy.
I don't think Bundy has the upper body strength to pick up Big Show and slam him, but I think Bundy could be just as vicious.
Huh. Interesting. And you know it's so rare that you get those big men. You know what was challenging last week on Impact? When Matt Morgan said he's the best 7-footer.
I thought you were going to say watching it. Because I know how
Matt
you
Morgan
get.
said he was the biggest 7-footer in the business and the best giant.
Well, why wouldn't he say that? Is he going to say he's the second best?
No, he's not going to say that. But, I mean, can he really say that? Right now, at this time? I'm not knocking him, but the question is, can he really say that?
But they don't acknowledge the
Especially
competition.
since he's going to lose to Crimson Sunday. Oof. Crimson's going to win. Come on. He's undefeated.
I don't know. You got to find out Friday night.
BTB, be the booker. Linda, we asked out on Facebook what the people thought about that fantasy matchup, that versus matchup, Big Show, one-on-one with King Kong Bundy. Who would the fans see prevailing in that matchup?
Oh, the majority of the fans are going to go with Big Show, 70%.
Shocker. 70%.
Yes, 30%.
That's because most of the fans have no idea who King Kong Bundy is.
The 5 count?
They should Google him as well tonight.
You better be careful.
It's amazing when you can learn when you know how to Google properly.
Settings, restrictions.
Oh, it's after midnight. Who cares?
We'll do verses each and every week right here on this program, and we'll take your submissions for verses as well. You can do that on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. I want to thank everybody who called in tonight and was a part of the program. Some spirited discussion from a lot of callers tonight, and we appreciate that. And also appreciate those of you who are tuning in to us on Saturday nights in Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin here on My 24, where you can watch Pro Wrestling Report primetime right after Ring of Honor Wrestling, Saturday nights at 10 o'clock p.m. And you can also get your share of the Pro Wrestling Report video and TV shows on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MaxSports. TNA Turning Point is this Sunday on pay-per-view. I guess Be the Booker's going to have to convince me to buy it, David Hero, because, I'm going to be there live, so I don't have to buy it. So that's good. But I don't know about this one. I mean, a lot's happening so fast.
You know
Gail
what?
Kim's already getting a match with Velvet Sky. We're already seeing Bobby Roode defend the title.
Where's
Crimson
the Pope on the
Streak is
show?
on the line.
I'm
sorry?
Is Pope on the show?
Not at this time.
No.
Does Pope want to be on the show?
I don't think so.
Just saying. We'll also talk
Is Second Power on the pay-per-view?
Ken Anderson?
Yeah.
Not at this time.
How about that?
Just saying. Well, you can't put everybody on, David Hero.
Well, if you want to
What
drop
about
my
the
rate?
Garrett Bischoff match?
Okay.
So be sure to tune in to the Pro Wrestling Report when we return to air in 2 weeks' time, right here on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. In the meantime and in between time, be sure to check us out on our website, pwrshow.com, and also on Facebook, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. A lot of good stuff going on out there today. And Linda reads everything that you guys send over on Twitter and on
so
Facebook.
be nice.
Right?
There's some toolboxes out there. There really are.
Down at Lowe's?
Hashtag toolboxes.
I want to thank everybody for joining us here at Karma Bar and Grill, 600 East Ogden on downtown Milwaukee. Definitely appreciate all the hospitality we've gotten here and all the great listeners who showed up. For Linda Kay and David Hero, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and live on ESPNMilwaukee.com. We'll see you soon.
Which one you can get love? Drop to the floor and move it slow.